Welcome to Virtual Breakfast. I am Amy Cole and I am an executive recruiter, so staffing expert, consumer goods, apparel, home, and health and beauty. Welcome, Tracy. Welcome, Kim. And so I include all of you always with a big fat welcoming heart. I want to just give you a little bit. You're here to get your professional edge on. So if you thought you were going to futz for 30, 60 minutes, that's not the case. You're absolutely going to get your act together in 60 minutes. And I, as a career coach and an industry leadership and development speaker, really am here to empower you to hear what's going on in the market, to also know how to benefit your own career right now. How do we put yourself in a place where you can really grow? Okay, right now it's a challenging time and we'll get to that. So I am Amy Cole. Welcome again, staffing expert. And this really is an hour of information. I call it inspiration, information. It's a resource, career connections, and a network. And I mean that. I would hope that you would reach out to everyone on this call because we are all here together going through COVID-19. We're coming up to a year of all of this insanity, shall we say, as well as a year of virtual breakfast. We are two breakfasts away from our 50th breakfast. We took 2 weeks off within this year, which is in just, I don't know what to say. Thanks for coming so much. Thanks so much. But we are leaders on this call. We are professionals on this call. You know, I also invite industry experts on this call to share what's going on, and we will do that again today. Of course, I'm excited about our guest. I'm actually very excited about today and our topic. Share that this is a place for us to get to see each other. You can see many faces that you know. I see many faces that I know personally. And now through this, I've gotten to know you even deeper, or it's a new relationship. And I love that. But this is what we're doing today in the market. This is the new paradigm. Okay. So on this, and I remember Cindy Ray called me months into virtual breakfast and said, you know, you crack jokes, put your lips on. And now I wear my lips on all my Zoom calls. So if that's the one thing I can share with you, then go for it. Put your lips on. This is your industry association breakfast. This is your meeting that you used to show up with heels and hand out your business card. This is the new normal. And I'm doing a lot of this, and I'm going to discuss that today a little bit. I'm really out there networking to build my business so that I have more jobs so that I can call you and fill that job. Because really, recruiting is my main business the past 21 years. We are also the career coaching, and you know, and I will share that a little bit later. And doing leadership and development training. That is called the Amy Cole Pivot. They have been small nuances of my business over the past 20 years. I explained this before and I share because I'd rather have you know everything. 87% of my revenue in 2019 was recruiting, with 13% of my revenue being coaching. Well, 2020, complete and utter flip. 80% of my revenue was coaching, and then 10% of my revenue was leadership and development training, a little bit more than that, and very little in recruiting for 2020. Okay. We're now opening up again, and I feel it. I definitely feel it. There's newness in the air. So for those sitting here and I want to have more dialogue, I think there's a lot more people, and you can wave your hands. You're interviewing. You're interviewing. You're trying new. Yes, good job, Robin Sharp. Good job, Henry Mark. I know who's out there and who's interviewing, and that's really great because whether companies are quickly hiring this very minute or not, you're out there, you're putting yourself out there, and they're open to new people. This is important because they are all assessing their businesses the way we're assessing our professional brands. So you're here to get your professional edge on. I always tell you that it's for all of us. There is no judgment here. When I call on you, I ask that you be open and transparent and be yourself. If you're not in the best place right now, who cares? Honestly, who cares? We're with you. It doesn't matter. Hopefully we'll give you a little kick in your step, a little injection, and you'll go out and have more fun today than you did when you showed up on the call. Or if you're already that girl, guy, ready to rock and roll and feeling it, you know what I mean? Spread the love. We all need it. I need it. Everybody needs it. So it's a network of highly motivated individuals is where you've landed today. So welcome, and thank you definitely for coming. Every week on Virtual Breakfast, we have an industry insights guest who shares with us his particular category, his or her category. Last week, we had HR directors and talent acquisition executives. And you know what? That's always an interesting place to live and hear. If you remember last week, Camille is going to double that company. the company called OneDrop in a calendar year. They are a medical technology firm helping diabetics, right? Then you have Tony, who is in pharmaceutical packaging, and he needs to hire a great many project managers as well as other categories. So those companies are on a roll. So why do we invite these people from all different industries? Because what industries are on a roll? I need to know, right? I want to staff. I want to be busy. I want to be staffing. I want to get you guys great jobs. That's my heart and that's my goal. So what's happening out there? I can staff medical. They're looking for project managers. They're looking for logistics and supply chain. And when I have that industry guest speaking, guys, what I really want is for you to open your ears. Hello? I'm being silly, but open the ears, because what are you learning about that industry that's applicable to what you've already been doing? And you can be a filler for them. You can use that skill that you have and you possess in your exceptional app. Because every one of the people on this call that I do know, if I don't, you ain't gathering you're exceptional because you're here. We always spiral up with like-minded people. It's another piece of networking that we talk about a great deal. There is an opportunity for you. If you're going back to a well that is dry, stop it. Pivot or pound the pavement, as I like to say, with a lot of love. But I'm losing the love. It's time now to be ready for the market and to understand your value. So you're here for that reason. That industry insight guest is here to teach us about something different that he or she has done in his career that has gotten them into a place where they're in a successful role and that category is growing or has something to teach us. So I'm excited that I have Robert on today, and we'll get to him, of course. Why virtual breakfast? You know, it's funny. I love it because I think it's fantastic to get together and be a network. But we're going to have a poll today, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more about what you are looking for in virtual breakfast. Today's all about listening, and I want to listen to what you guys want more. We're coming up on a year. How should this transform? How should this transition 12 months later to be more beneficial to those of you that are dedicating your time every Wednesday? So we're going to listen a little bit, right? But it's virtual breakfast is because there's a whole new work paradigm out there. And I was called to get in touch with you at this time a year ago. How do I help the community that I have built for 12 years when I can't say I've got a job for you? Right? So we're really here to figure out where the next opportunities are, and they're rolling in. So that's great. Where do we need to know? Is it digital stuff all day long? I get sick of talking about digital, but guess what? Man, oh man, oh man, have I done digital all day long. This business, Amy Cole Connect, of 21 years, we now have automation, things I can't figure out. Zapier, joining one communication tool to another communication tool. Do I love it? I'm not the best techno girl. I'm going to say I don't love it. Have we had a lot of learning curves? Have we had a lot of expensive learning curves? Yes. But being current matters for everybody. And I'm excited to say that it's actually fun to get up and be challenged, sweat a little, but be challenged and take it on. And every one of our industry guests has said to us, I think, if I could go back and quote everyone, I should probably go back and do some fun montage of all the quotes of our guests. They have said, take risks, be curious, go ahead and learn, fail fast, right? I mean, that would be a fun project to do, because most people in the industry expert category segment when we speak to them has said, I took a risk, I learned something new, faked it till I maked it. I'm one of those women that says, stretch yourself like taffy. Are you faking it till you make it? You get it. You're not faking it. We're stretching it. We're stretching it a little bit because you're going to catch it. The more you're in it, the more you talk about it, the more you speak to it, whatever that thing is that you do not know, if it's 3D or if it's logistics and supply chain PLM right now, or if it's any type of servicing clients through sequencing of emails, marketing, digital, direct to consumer, you will learn by being surrounded by it. Get involved in networking groups. I say this all the time. Okay. Anyway, because of this whole new work paradigm, you're here. I appreciate you. Thank you. And I'm very excited. And I do feel that the market is opening. Before we end today, I will give you a few minutes to share how we can help you more one-on-one this is us as a group, and this is a great deal of speaking on my part and a great deal of speaking on our industry expert, but we do call on a few of you. But there is a place if you would like one-on-one attention to help empower your professional package to be out there. Every virtual breakfast, I speak about the 5 P's of your professional edge. I should quiz you guys after all this time, but there are 5 P's that are giving you an edge. It is your purpose. What gets you up in the morning? You can tell that I like people, right? That's my purpose. Getting people jobs is so much fun to me 21 years later. I love it. Crazy. So silly. Number 2, your brand. How do you deliver your skills and expertise, guys? What is that secret sauce that you weave into logistics and supply chain? What is that secret sauce that you weave into analytics if you're in finance? Okay, there's other men and women that understand, that have that skill. So what makes it yours? Are you sympathetic? Are you empathetic? Are you passionate? Are you methodical? That branding, 2, 3 words branded in your LinkedIn changes who you are. I want to talk to you. You have a brand. We are brands today. Amy Cole Connect is a brand of a business. I'm B2B. You are B2B in a way too. You're the business. You're your brand. Put it out there. March it out. So you've got your purpose, your professional brand, and your professional profile. I should say personal brand, but it's similar to professional brand. Your profile is a combination of those 3, right? The trilogy that can't be broken. A chair that won't fall because it has 3 legs. You've got a purpose, a brand, and you have your profile. Your profile is your LinkedIn. It's your resume, branded. It's your professional profile on LinkedIn, branded. Number 4 are your partnerships. Who's your network? Everyone on this call, your network. Amy Cole, definitely your network. We love it. We love the community. Important. Who else is your network? Where are you sitting? I'm going to teach you a couple things later today, or share something, I should say. I don't know, that I am in a situation where sometimes I'm not sure I'm in the right places when I'm networking. So I've got to take a look at that organization and say, is that place a feeder for me? Am I a feeder for them? We've talked about escalating yourself so that you're not the smartest person in the room. You're constantly learning. You want to be that, okay? So it is your purpose, your brand, your profile, your partnerships, and lastly, your positioning, what we're talking about. Where are you interacting? Where are you putting that brand? Where are you putting yourself out there? Where are you positioning yourself in groups? Are you a resource? Are you making an influence? So that's a piece of this every single day of virtual breakfast that we get into so that you can take that home with you and work on that. Or if you want to come together and work with us independently, Amy Cole Connect, I'll share that with you a little bit later in the call. So I'm very excited. This week has been a real funny week. I'm going to say funny week. It's been a really good week, actually. But I've done a great deal of listening because I have been people that I need to listen more. So I love criticism. I take it and I listen. I get a little sensitive. I can't lie. But it's coming up a bit because I'm doing a great deal of business development. And I am on a lot of new calls with new people. So it does put all of us in vulnerable places. You guys are all being willing to be vulnerable, whether you're a small business, Steve I and Cindy Ray, or you are Lisa, Coach Dibbs. It's we're putting ourselves out there. Let's talk turkey, and it is vulnerable, right? So one of the things that we have to learn to do is to realize the art of listening. And you know that I love the Korn Ferry and the Harvard Business Review, and I flip through, and it's always my magazines. And the Korn Ferry CEO wrote a newsletter this week, and he talked about listening in business. Again, it's funny. He's brought up listening to his colleagues and his stakeholders and his clients and his members a lot in his rhetoric, I should say, in his blogs and things like that. And it was about, listening, period, the end. Okay, I don't need to go down the rabbit hole for him about him, but what I do, it stirred something in me, and then I journaled about listening. And then, as I'm introducing myself to all these groups in business development, I'm listening to, I get 13 seconds in the Hollywood Square to say, "Hi, I'm Amy Cole. I'm Amy Cole Connect, Executive Search." And what's my shtick, right? What's my professional edge? And I'm constantly fine tuning this as well. And I'm listening to myself talking, and I'm finding myself rushing through the listening as other people introduce themselves and hurrying to answer something. Like I've got some answer. And it was called out by my business partner that I did that in a new sales call with a new company. And Aim, you didn't really listen to what those guys are doing. So I thought, oh, I felt terribly. Of course, I felt defeated. And then I said, negative delete. Everything's a learning experience. Negative delete. I will get better at this. And he's not wrong. I will listen more. Well, Webster defines listening. This is I looked it up. To give attention with the ear, attend closely for the purpose of hearing, to pay attention, to heed, and to obey. Funny enough, we all, a year ago, when this whole COVID pandemic thing was new and we were asked to stay home and listen to the news, we listened to the market in a whole new way, right? All of a sudden, for example, I wanted to serve, as we said already, a year ago started this, serve my hiring partners. How can I serve my hiring partners if other people are working from home? How can I serve you, the candidate pool? How can I serve you, the hiring people on the call? How do I serve my companies? I mean, when COVID started, we even had a doctor on the call. If you recall, it was called COVID-19, the New Communications Playbook. That's what we called that episode, with Joanna Massey, who has her PhD in communication, and she's an author and a speaker about how important it is right now. This was COVID time. It was July, I think we had her, or June. That the importance to listen with empathy. That communication today is more listening. She was speaking right then in that pandemic, which was a whirlwind because we weren't sure what to do. We were navigating furloughs, unemployment, the first federal help checks and things like that. It was a very unique place and time. And she said, listening intently to take stock of others' perspectives, which is also what Korn Ferry, Gary told me in his blog this week. How everything at that time, you were asking people how they were feeling that day, their personal situation. Forget 2 weeks, 2 months, right? It was like, how are you handling this crazy shift? How are you doing with your mom in the nursing home? How are you doing with work from home? How are you doing double dipping? The kids don't have anywhere to go. School's been canceled for a minute, right? How are you bringing home the buck and navigating unemployment? How are you, it was a total priority to listen. It was COVID. We were in a pickle. Well, and the beautiful thing during all of that, which is very nice, and we hope people felt this, is when you're heard, when you ask with empathy and listen, it feels good to be heard. Listening helps us feel understood and validated, which every single one of us needs, no matter where you are in your career or in your life. You need to be affirmed and valued. And when you listen, you feel that way. You feel relieved, right? You feel, you feel connected to community emotionally. And you may even honor somebody in a whole different way because you listen so deeply. I have tried to keep that mode with virtual breakfast. And that is funny. I feel that. But then I go over to the biz dev piece, I'm like, chat, 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 talk, talk mode. And I'm losing that listen skill. And it's funny because I honestly will say, and I think that we all would possibly agree, that we've become a bit numb to COVID, not to the devastation. Please, Lord, help all those that have been devastated, please. But now we're back to biz. It's like, what hurdles are we facing? Let's go hit them. Let's go, right? We're all hurdling at the speed of light. I got to get the business back. It's now a year. Da, 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 da. So I think we've kind of taken a little bit of okay, I'm going to keep chatting again. Anyway, I say this because I'm doing Amy Cole, what I always do, a little bit too much of maybe, but assessing where I'm going and where I'm at. And I do want to be listening more. So one of the quotes that I pulled up for this particular listening story was George Bernard Shaw, the Irish playwright who we all know. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it takes place. So we're not really communicating if we're not listening. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place, right? Part of being successful when we're out there, putting our brand out there, throwing our professional edge out there, is asking questions and listening for the answers. Any bigger problem, any big problems, big or small, starts with bad communication, meaning someone's not listening, right? You know that with your spouse, you know that with your best friend, you know that with your kids, my gosh, right? We got to listen for what's not being said a little bit here. We have two ears and one tongue. I've always loved this one. We were created to listen more and talk less. Stephen Covey, who I use all of his seven habits of highly effective people. I love the guy. He says, most people do not listen with the intent to understand, right? We listen with the intent to reply. That was me this week on BizDev. I have an answer already. I'm Miss Fancy Pants. Let me solve your problem. I don't even know the problem. So listening is a skill, right? It would benefit us if we listened with curiosity, kind of like a doctor, right? He doesn't make a diagnosis without saying to you, well, why does your elbow hurt? What happens when you bend here or there, right? Your orthopedic guy. If he hasn't heard all of your ailments, if he doesn't listen intently, he has no clue what to prescribe. No clue. Do you need an MRI? Do you need an X-ray? Do you just need to go home and lift a 5-pounder? Right? What's going on with you? I don't know. So I asked myself, am I doing most of the talking or listening? And listening is what makes communication. Listening makes the difference in the world, whether we're trying to be a good parent or a brilliant partner in business or a real friend, or we're trying to inspire people. Actually, I don't know, did you guys watch the Golden Globes? Because one of my most favorite people in the whole world is Jane Fonda. And when she received the Cecil DeMille Award, you could see that when she watched every movie, because she spoke intently of each movie when she accepted this award, she listened to the message of all of the nominated films. She had a response and honored their message through her listening of the story, the storytelling, right? She took note with empathy. And in 3 minutes and 41 seconds, she had all of us like this, interested, and then inspired us through listening to others and what the culture is going through right now, inspired us to be greater with that short communication. But she first took a listen of so much. I just think that's a great way to sum this up a little bit. She inspired me, right? So I'm encouraging everybody, I think, and I am, to listen. So when you're interviewing, what are they sharing with you? What are they saying? What did the job description say? What do your small business opportunities say? When you're introduced to someone that may need your services, if you're consulting out there right now, are you taking stock and listening to their pain points first so that you can address them without just being rapid fire, Amy Cole, let me get this out. Listening, right? So that we're ready to respond specifically applicable to what their needs are. Which brings me right back to listening to trends, listening to our industry insight speaker today, listening to our interviewees, listening to our colleagues, so that we come to the table understanding what we need to be responding to, where we can make a difference, and how we can take our brand and share it with what's in it for them, which is what I talk about all the time also. Right. So it excites me to listen to new people. I want to invite Robert, who is our guest speaker today, on the call. And if I call on you after we have Robert on the call, I want you to please introduce yourself with your name, your title, and your industry. Robert comes from a great background. Hello, young man. How are you? We know it's the crack of 7 in Seattle. Is that your window? That's gorgeous.
Yeah, I got the Puget.
Beautiful. Well, this is from Seattle, Washington. I can't say dear friend. We recently met through connecting in business, and I'm always transparent with my guests and who and where they come from. Robert, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. He is a senior vice president of marketing and digital growth transformation for a company called Pacific Market International. I will let Robert share a little bit more, but one of the things that I want to listen to in Robert's journey is, number one, he went to the Peace Corps. So that's a dream. If you give us the 1, 2, 3 on what that did for you as a career person, giving back. The minute I met you, you were a give back guy. I just felt that from your branding and your energy, and even though our call was quite, not that in depth. But really, I'd love to also share with the audience after name, title, and industry how you have taken, you learned agency side marketing, and then you have platformed yourself and put yourself in quite an instrumental spot, influential spot with digital growth transformation and what that looks like and how possibly we can help others understand how they could do that also. How's that for five questions in one?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my short story, I started out on the digital agency side. I was always interested in digital and tech. And that was the time when agencies and, corporate entities really hadn't figured out, the rhyme and reason behind that sort of stuff. And so digital agencies did application development, they did acquisition-oriented activities, they did retention-oriented activities, and email marketing, things of that nature. I did that for a little while, went into the public service. I've always been motivated by service, to my country and community. And so I was able to leverage my professional interest within that context, though. And so I was an enterprise development advisor, and I was focused on a competitiveness project on the information and communication technology sector and the
Within the Peace Corps?
Yep.
Ah, wow. Okay. That's
No,
fascinating.
they have a business program, but typically it's in Eastern Europe or the Caucasus or Central Asia. So, I mean, it's really kind of an interesting thing to get involved in. I did that for close to 3 years. I did a little bit of contract work for AID subsequently. And then I went back to the agency side. And at that point, agencies had started to separate, into acquisition, conversion, and retention practices. And so I went to work
So,
for
I'm going to ask you because not all of us know it. What would be acquisition, retention, and, tell us.
acquisition is, and this has even changed since then, but acquisition is more performance marketing, consumer marketing rooted in digital. Conversion practices are typically user experience design, developing websites, now what are known as systems integrators, platform transitions, and then retention activities are typically, what they're, buzzworthy terms, lifetime value of consumers. So how are you acquiring meaningful consumers, not one and dones, but that will come back to you and develop a meaningful relationship with the brand, either by, through referral value or sales rooted in lifetime value, right? Things of that nature. So email marketing, but more so data, customer data, platform management, things of that nature, leveraging data, looking at the consumer as a quantifiable entity. So that's typically, in digital, acquisition, conversion, retention. You typically have
Okay.
a
I
specialization.
honestly didn't know that. So I appreciate that those three things. Can you just, you're sounding a little fuzzy, but if I don't know, whether you on the phone or,
No, I'm on my computer. It might be a little
oh,
bit of
good.
a.
Oh, that was louder. That was louder. Okay.
I'll speak louder.
Okay. So,
If
so,
I
so
start
that,
yelling, let me know.
yeah. Okay. So, okay. So there's three categories on the agency side. Does it then follow into PMI side?
Well, so then I was at Williamson Dickey. They have Dickey's Walls and a few other brands. It's owned by BF. I was the director of digital marketing for Williamson Dickey. And that was where I kind of made my bones in developing programs,
Oh, right,
digital
yeah.
programs. And from there, I went to another company in North Carolina called Renpro. So they have 70% of their business is licensed. So Carhartt, Polo, Fruit of the Loom. We had our categories where we marketed and sold. And then we had our own brands, Cabo, Hot Socks, and a few others, as well as we did OEM work for companies like Nike. Um, I was there for a few years, and then I went to another group in Idaho, owned by Curate Retail. You guys are familiar with Zulily and HSN QVC, et cetera. So we were one of their holdings, and that was actually an interesting new thing for me. It wasn't digital growth; it was more of a turnaround, a transformation, which was tough. And it was Vitalize owns a couple of retail pure play sites like bodybuilding.com. We had digital product, we sold apps, and then we also did supplement manufacturing and sold under a few different brands, Signature Rebel. And then, Amy, to your point, we affected it. We sold it to Expedia Ventures, and I've been talking with PMI. And so I came here about a year and a half ago. And so, now I'm here.
What piece of the business do you enjoy the most? Like, what do you say when you hear me mention the five P's, for example? I ask every expert this, do you love this stuff? And
I
you don't,
do.
if you don't, you don't.
No, I do. I mean, I love, some of your opening remarks. I think, having, knowing yourself and your story, And I think at this stage in our careers, like we know what motivates us and we know what we don't like.
Yeah.
And so, for me, coming out of this last experience, I did not love retail. I did not love the turnaround. That's a tough business. And so I love manufacturing, and I really had targeted durable goods, consumer goods, or soft lines manufacturing, because, work-life balance is important to me.
Yeah.
And, I like building programs. That's, really what I'm good at. And I think, so I do love what I do. And I think what I love about it is, in building programs, Amy, you mentioned asking questions, and I think that's symptomatic of being intellectually curious, and I think that's rooted in authenticity. And, for me, coming into an organization that wants to grow, you get in really quickly to the what, the why, to how, and that's where my mind starts to kick in, right? And so, and I think in digital growth and transformation, I mean, people typically think about digital in terms of, you know, the consumer marketing or platforms and websites and e-commerce, retail sales, Amazon, et cetera. But I think it's a lot bigger than that, right? I mean, it's customer experience, right? It's
Yes.
understanding your customers. It's sales growth, and I think that's typically what people focus on. But also, not just what drives digitally enhanced selling or retail, e-commerce sales, or direct consumer performance marketing, but all the business services delivery behind it, right? Streamline processes to make it sustainable and scalable.
Mhm.
The customer touch points, how does it all work together with websites and your different channels and your partners? And then, all the back office stuff, platform and operational process, the business models, which will ultimately drive your success. I mean, I think those are all things that I really enjoy kind of putting the pieces together. And, Amy, you mentioned like what, from the Peace Corps, I think the learning experience to me is like putting the box together, because you have to be super entrepreneurial in those instances. You don't have a lot of resources. So, for me, that's kind of aided me. And so now it's not just, operating within the box, it's putting the box together. And so I
Yeah.
think that's what
Would you say that for those on the call, because I think, and I'm going to be honest with Amy Cole, and the group knows me, and you'll get that feel, right? Some of the digital stuff overwhelms me. I'm googling it left and right. I mean, I am, but and yet I know that I understand what the digital piece of wholesale is, direct to consumer, omni-channel, multi-channel, is just different terminology. Is that a fair thing to say sometimes? Because we are still designing, distributing, and getting the product. But the marketing, that marketing, the icing on the top is that marketing piece, that retarget, that stuff. Would you say, how did you learn it all? I should say, although, or did it help you being on the agency side first?
I think the agency side, I mean, you've got to be current, right? And
Yeah,
so trying to figure out what the new thing is, you have to figure out how to operationalize it and then sell it.
yeah.
So I think that was a skill that was useful, or I don't know if that's a skill or an ability, but I think that stayed with me. And so, I pull in things. I mean, like I said, I'm intellectually curious as a person. I mean, I read a lot, but I also pay particular attention to, the industry, specifically data operationalization data. The marketing stuff, sure. Um, that's more like, how do you use the data, almost the format and application.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I listen to podcasts. I use OpenCourseWare from MIT, and UC Berkeley has some really good OpenCourseWare courses for just being current. I think
Okay.
I read a lot, and I think, but there's some basics. I mean, it's not like you have to read the you know the brain marketing, all this gobbledygook, buzz terms. I mean, I think there's some really good ones, like you know uh, someone asked me the other day, like if you wanted to learn about integration in digital, like business models, there's a classic, Barry Waxman. He was one of the founders of RGA, which is Nike's digital agency of record. He was fundamental in developing their digital vision. He wrote a book called Connected by Design, and its user-centered design methodology, and talking about how that relates to business models. I mean, that's a fundamental one. And I think there's a few from a data perspective to understand, the fundamentals: volume, velocity, variety. What does that mean? And some just interesting points. And I think it's not just professional stuff. I think it also has personal relevance. I mean, if you have kids, having conversations with them about, listen, data is archived, all of it, and it exists forever. And the value of information changes over time. So think in 10 years, what that selfie might mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or what that association might mean. So, I think just, being a student, and being intellectually curious, I think to, something you'd said earlier is, just part of it.
Okay, cool. All right. So we asked everybody this question: what number one quality do you feel has led to your success? Is it going to be your curiosity?
Um, I
You
I think I don't know. People probably
can
cheat on
have
this
two. You
question,
can
but
have two.
probably it's like, stitched together with perseverance, because not everyone, values, it doesn't always hit, right?
Yeah.
So I think life is a numbers game, and someone told me once that like luck is preparation meets opportunity, and I think
So
the preparation piece is critical. So, just constantly rolling the dice, so to speak, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to speak to that because that's what we're doing here at Virtual Breakfast. I mean, Robert, this is new this year, and look at what we have. We have such great. I mean, you're going to meet a few people as we speak, and I respect your time. So if you have to run, I respect that. But we invite the audience to say hello, and yeah, we've been tenacious and sticking it out and seeing what's going to happen and watching things transition and I think it is a piece of someone. Sue Steele just said tenacity, as you said, in addition to curiosity, perseverance, and it is timing. Because I'm honest with everybody here, as I want to be recruiting in new and I am recruiting in all different categories, but I would like to be. There's some categories they're hiring 100 people in a week. I mean, literally. you know it may not be it may be hourly, it may be Amazon people that Amazon doesn't use outside recruiters, but I'm in the same boat as every man or woman that when you own a small business as an entrepreneur for 21 years, every year is another year. I've got to beat last year's figures. I've got to pay my page, and I like to share because we're brands in the marketplace. You're a brand. You are benefiting PMI, but in fairness, you are an entrepreneurial brand within that organization, moving the needle and being an influence. So you're right, it's your curiosity, it's that you're reading outside of the course, outside of the confines of PMI, that you're coming with tenacity, you're bringing that ad. So thank you for saying all that, I greatly appreciate that. I'm going to ask some people to say hello. I'm going to unpin you and just get into the audience, but sincerely, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is
Yeah.
amazing. You're amazing. Hit the nail on the head, my friend. All right, let me see. So Henry Mark invited a friend. Henry Mark, where is your friend? And let's invite him to say hello. Oh, Henry's gone. Shoku? Okay.
No, I'm here.
Where are you, honey? I can't see you. I see you. But where did you invite a friend today?
Yes, I invited a former colleague of mine, Vito, who is new, and I'm putting him on the spot, but I thought it'd be a great opportunity
Okay.
for
So
him to
is he in here?
join.
I don't see it. Well, maybe I've got to go to another page. Hold on. Vito, Vito, Vito. Okay. I don't see Cal. I don't see. Do you see him? If you see him, let me know. I don't see him either, Lisa. Do you? Okay. Fair enough. All right.
He may have popped off.
He may have popped off. All good. We'll get Victor another time. Let's talk to Mariana Mazzaro. How are you?
Hi,
Hello, my friend. Please state your name, your industry, and your title, if you would, for everybody.
hi. My name is Mariana Matarazzo. I am a designer, and that's it.
Okay. What's happening in your world right now? Let me hear if there's a place that you're listening. Where have you listened to something new this week?
I actually love your insight. I think listening is very important. Many people just speak of themselves most of the time, and that's when we have to back off and listen other people's need. And that's important because I'm freelancing right now, and this is extremely important, like to first listen what is the struggle, what they're looking for, in order to provide the best service.
Correct. And what's happening in your world? What would be a challenge for you right now in the freelancing? Is it finding opportunities? Is it putting yourself out there in a different way because things have changed? What would you say?
So my biggest challenge in now, and we talked about this before, is that I'm transitioning from fashion to tech. So I am still finishing my studies on technology, on UI UX design, and I'm
Good.
still freelancing in fashion. Like most of the freelance opportunities I have now is still in fashion because that's my expertise, and that's easier for me to place myself, to brand myself.
Mhm.
But for UI UX and for technology, I am still studying and see how it works. But I think once I get it, it's gonna be incredible.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you're taking, I'm applauding you for taking this opportunity to use this time. It's amazing.
Yeah, I
Really.
loved it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
really
great.
enjoyed.
It's great. Justin Frabel, I see you saying, look at you. You put a shirt on. So, I mean, I've got a real shirt. So I'm going to, let's see. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. I actually just had my, well, as you know, the group doesn't know probably, but I utilized your VIP resources and I've been unemployed for about 3 months. Of course, 2 of those months I consider to be holiday time. So shit going on there. But anyway, so I just had my third and final interview round with a company that I'm actually pretty excited and passionate about. So they seem very interested. They said that the final round was the VP of Sales in New York, and he kind of confidentially said, we're going to have an offer letter to you by probably mid to late next week. So just sit tight. So I was like, okay, great. It's exciting.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah.
Well, why don't you just give, because you're in a unique field from people on the group, share your industry, your title in your industry, your name, title, industry.
Sure. Well, unemployed is my title. But I was working with, I have a unique background. I went to school for photography, was a photo editor and art director for many years while living in LA, then realized quite daftly and not quick enough that I was not making the kind of money I should be making, given that salespeople were basically monetizing what I was helping to create. So I said, well, wait a minute, what if I can do both of those things? Then I'm incredibly well-rounded. So I focused on sales.
But in what industry, Justin? Because people don't
Paparazzi, paparazzi specifically is what I started to work with. And there's a lot of background there as far as, contracts and negotiating those deals, and then having the celebrity go on Ellen and say, oh, I wish they would just leave me alone. And it's like, well, I paid you. So really, I don't know why you're complaining. But anyway.
but let me just, I'm going to lead the witness a little bit just so, because people
Sure.
don't know. Your industry is media relations.
Yes, yeah. So I was doing a lot of partnerships, media relations, a little bit of PR, a little bit of marketing, wearing multiple hats all the time. And then also selling the content that we would create through those partnerships. So I was doing that in the tail end of when I was living in LA. And then when I moved to New York, I continued to do it for another agency. Then I decided to legitimize my career goals a little bit more by working for a more reputable brand, so I started working for Reuters in media sales for about 6 years. Realized that the traditional sales model of I'll give you the X amount of assets if you pay me X amount of dollars is a bit tired and frankly a little bit risky, especially in times of economic crisis.
Well, then let's go there for 2 seconds, kiddo, because I do want, meaning, what would you say right now? Like, everybody's industries are pivoting a bit. So you just hit a point in
Yep.
your industry. What is more needed right this very minute? Like this role that you're now on your third round for, what exactly are they trying to accomplish as a business model?
Sure. So it's technology. It's a tech company, which I have not worked for in the past. I've had companies that have attempted to become. I've worked for companies that have attempted to become tech companies and not done well at it
Good for you.
because it is an investment. So this is really exciting. And also, what I've done in the past, a part of what I've done for the past 20 years of my career is basically brand protection, intellectual property protection, and copyright infringement. And so this company that I'm in my final round of just completed my final round of interviews with, they they're a platform that essentially deals with just that. They give other companies, fashion brands, media brands, you name it, the power to scour the internet to discover where the fakes are. Whether that be bracelets that you're selling or shoes, the fakes in that world. So it's very interesting.
I love it. So it's a little bit of a woven cloth of different industries as opposed to strictly, because I mean,
Exactly.
again, and Justin and I have worked together, and I want to thank you, Justin, for sharing, because this is the new perspective that we get on these calls. We have different people from different categories that it all melds together in the end. Everyone, as I say, when I do coaching, we all have to create a product. sell a product or sell that service, create a product or service, sell it, and you've got to have a distribution channel of a consumer. That is really the basics of life, guys, whether we're making lipstick, we're selling J-Lo's picture that we found her working out in Miami Beach, right? You
Right.
used to sell it to outlets, you used to sell it to media outlets. So, and Mariana going into UI or UX, you're creating an environment for which someone to absorb that content, buy that product. So every business is so similar. So thank you so much. I'm very glad. We will talk offline, of course. Congratulations, and really, A plus.
Thank
A
you.
plus, A plus. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen for a minute. It's probably messy and I probably shouldn't do that, but I'm going to take you to, Justin just mentioned that he and I work together as a VIP. So I'm going to use that as an opportunity to go to Amy Cole Connect. And, let's see. And I apologize, I'm not more prepared. Amy Cole Connect. But here is an opportunity to, you can always go to my website and have fun and take a look. If it's Tuesday and you really want it to be Wednesday virtual breakfast and you miss my face, Amy Cole Connect. No. But guys, you know that my heart is to help benefit you, how to get your professional edge on. Justin and I just completed what we do together is an intensive. We talk about his past. What are the transferable skills? What are the things that he has done in all of his different jobs that we can then brand for this cohesive environment today that is asking for you to be succinct? The world is asking you to spit it out, right? They're not listening. Let's be clear about today. Very few of us are listening. You need to bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. So, and many people don't really realize that today's the day that you need to rebrand yourself. So if this is a place where you are ready to take yourself, and there are others on the call that have worked with me one-on-one, and we can have them share if they want. But, the bottom line is we talk a lot about where you've come from, what are your core competencies, what's the branding, and we weave it through your resume and your LinkedIn. And most importantly, we role play so that you can interview and network with confidence and allow yourself to speak exactly what you want to say without going on and on and on. Okay. So, I'm not going to go through all this, but it's a one-on-one. It's our career page. What do you expect? It's Amy Cole Intensive. I whip you right into shape. It's all one-on-one about you building your confidence out. It's completely dedicated to your growth. The process is online. Of course, it's Zoom with recordings that you can go back to. And I am helping you understand your value is one of the biggest things as well. Gaining your momentum with confidence. We talk about how confidence is contagious when you go out and you market yourself and you interview. And so that is that transformation that I feel that you gain in addition to a great deal of branding. And you're welcome to go and read some of the, recommendations from people, or just ask the group. But anyway, so I always promise you that I give you an opportunity to, take advantage of us a little bit later and feel more a part of our team. But why don't I invite Henry Mark to share a little bit? He is interviewing a great deal. Henry, did you jump off? He might have jumped off. I was not looking. He did. Okay. Tom Gawanda, let's hear what's happening in your world for a minute.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Tom.
How's everyone doing?
Very well, very well. So
Good.
your name, your title, and your industry. I can't seem to get that out of anybody yet.
I'm currently involved with a menswear apparel business, mostly knits, denim, jackets, leather, price points, MSRPs, somewhere $100 to $500 US MSRP. It's a very small team of people.
In what capacity, Tom? In what capacity? Sales,
A lot of hats. A lot of hats. Yeah, a lot of hats. In the new world, a lot of hats. A little bit about my background for everyone that doesn't know me already. I've been involved with Amy since COVID started a year ago.
We knew each other before then.
Yeah. But the whole beginning thing, sure. What is Hudson? Hudson is a streetwear brand, predominantly, believe it or not, still brick and mortar. Somewhere in the $3 million wholesale range. What I do for them is anything from concept, and this is all menswear, concept through bulk delivery. So there's approval process, as everyone knows in this room, all along the way. draw things, collect information from retailers, review historic data to see what's going to perform in the next cycle, plan out calendar deliveries. I actually lived in China for, and if anyone remembers apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur, I actually helped move their factory base from Hong Kong to North China in the about a decade ago. Since then, I've been involved with like Black Pyramid, Chris Brown, would probably be the one you know the most.
Well, let's talk a little bit about industry information. I love it, and Court, you know me, I applaud, and I'm so happy.
Sure.
So you're sharing that this is a full-time gig for you right now.
Correct. Currently full-time employed. Yeah. I honestly, I'm very loyal to the principles that, and I work my tail off, to the principles, that finance these businesses. So, you know, I have a very good reputation of getting it done, and I wear a lot of hats. So,
So let's talk about that, because let's go there. Do you feel that right now that is what it is? I mean, I think that I know the answer. I don't want to lead the witness, but sometimes I do. What do you feel is making you successful in what you do right now for this company?
I'm not going to lie to the audience. I don't think I'm successful. I think I'm surviving, and I think surviving is the new success. I am a brick and mortar wholesaler supplying retail, and that is not a successful business model. One of the failures of our business currently is we don't have enough internet presence to scale without a large brick and mortar distribution channel, right? And so, unfortunately, if you look at the numbers, as I've heard several times in today's conversation, it's very expensive for the startup internet business. And so if you don't have a massive distribution already and a large presence already, it's very difficult to go from zero to sustainable in the internet world. Why do I keep working in this field? Because they keep calling me, because I wear a lot of hats. I think the value that I offer to a business is, you know, services rendered it's just worth it for them. You know, I can cover 2 or 3 people's roles for the cost of one person. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the reality, unfortunately, of what I do.
And that's what's happening for me as well. I am getting that men and women, corporations, that 63 companies were actively recruited. We recruited for many years. I do a whole, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, long story longer is that's what's happening. Yes, they're asking you to play different roles, play managerial roles, play leadership roles in different ways.
Sure.
You know, and I think that's really what's happening as well. Well, great to hear from you. Thank you.
Good luck to everyone. Stay in the fight.
Yeah, stay in the fight. Exactly. Robert, can I ask you, I'm going to ask Robert to speak for a second. Robert, you and I spoke about on the call about supply chain distribution and putting out different, you know, direct to consumer, omni-channel, and some of the challenges, as Tom just mentioned. Can you speak to that also?
Well, yeah, I mean, right now with I mean, it really depends on the industry and your category, but you know, some people are suffering, but other businesses are doing really, really well. And you know, you know, at a category level, but I would think even if you're doing well, it's only good if you can sell if you have the products to sell. And so I think that's something that's kind of changed, as in digital it can grow so rapidly. That's always been an issue, right? It's like, you know, in wholesale you typically grow incrementally, you got a CAGR. But in digital, I mean, if you do it right, I mean, you can grow. Like, I mean, our direct to consumer business last year grew at over 800% year over year. Just keeping our inventory, just keeping in stock was an issue. And so, you know, there is something, you know, this notion of business services delivery and thinking about supply chain and, you know, your fulfillment operations to be able to keep up with the pace of growth when you're doing it right. So, yeah, no, I think supply chain and fulfillment, distribution, like having a proficiency there. And if you're a business leader, understanding that dimension, I think is really important and eye-opening, like if you were interviewing, because typically people are siloed in their thinking and, you know, they're, you know, and I think modern enterprises, especially rooted in digital, you have to have the bigger eye for how it all works together. Did that answer your question?
It did, because I'm coming across a situation much like Tom is mentioning. You can't, you know, apple before the cart before the horse thing. And many people, and these are very big brands, authentic brand groups type of brands, that are saying we don't have the supply. Claire's, for example, had a 700% increase in their digital during COVID. You know, the Claire's where you buy the cheap earrings for the girls, and that's on fire, right? 12-year-old women getting to little girls buying little tchotchkes at $9. The mother says, of course, have some fun. 700% growth. We had an executive on the call here. She helped teach us about what they have done. And it is a supply chain situation. And yeah, the marketing's on target, but they're not getting the product to the person. Away Travel, about 3 years ago, it wasn't COVID related, could not get the product in the hands of every father and mother that bought their college kid a bag and promised them for Christmas and promised delivery for Christmas. My brother-in-law was one of those upset people for $225 for a Rolly bag for the sophomore at Babson. Like, you got to be kidding me. So supply chain can all of a sudden tarnish your entire reputation of all you've done. And as we look at this digital, to your point, it can go from A to Z, and it's in such a flash that you're like, whoa, what just happened?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's where, as a business leader, I think, also getting creative. I think, you had mentioned things are different now, and they really are. And I think a lot of businesses are more open to newness than they ever have before. And, I think, certainly supply chain executives can think about, how do you extend your range of factory options or increase capacity, tooling, whatever your thing is. But, I also think business partnerships, like you had said, networking and just knowing people. Just for instance, OEM partnerships, there are other companies that could even be, in a parallel path, possibly even selling competitive goods. And there are conversations occurring to where, like, they could service some of your OEM needs if you can't keep pace. So strange bedfellows kind of time,
Yeah. Well, we have a woman on the call. I don't know if she's still on, but it's getting a little later. But yeah, she works with Amazon. She comes from an Amazon background and is now working for a company that has software that aggregates all of those fields. But in addition to just .com Amazon, it's Nordstrom.com, Bloomies.com. It is a platform where you put your statistics in, your data, your MSRP, your sizing, your color code, your UPC code, EDI, etc. Put it in once, push send, and it populates Bloomies, Macy's, Nordstrom's, Amazon, all the .com platforms for you, saving you 60, 80 grand in a human being every week, right? A year. Right. I mean, you know these softwares. SaaS as a business right now for that aggregation is huge. So yes, that's a whole new relationship build. All right, guys, thank you so much. I want to just say goodbye and thank you. We're always here from you. Hello to everybody that is new. If we didn't have a chance to invite you to speak, forgive us. We will see you next week. Robert, thank you sincerely for everybody that also joined. All right, we will talk to you at next virtual breakfast. Go out and get your professional edge on. Bye, guys. I'll talk to you later.